Code for change is important. In this video, I want to share with you some code examples with thinking around code for change. Let's take a look at the example. The business logic at the very beginning is simple. The animals are separated by the pipe sign, and when multiple animals are passed in, get to the second one. And that's it. The goal is easy to reach. Just one line of code, split the stream by pipe sign, and return the second entry. There's a test for that as well. Whenever this format of string is passed in, male, wolf, clock. Oh, by the way, that's supposed to be the sound of a hen. I don't know if I'm pronouncing it correct. I got it from the internet. Anyway, wolf is returned because it is the second item. Let me run the test. As you can see, both of them passed. Let's come back to the code. Now the business logic changed as we expected. Well, change is the only thing that do not change in the coding, right? We add something. We call it business logic B2. If 3 animals are passed in, return the second animal, which is the same as the first business requirement. But if 4 animals are passed in, return the third one. Yeah, business logic is just this silly. Let's start by updating the unit tests. 4 animals. And return the third one. If we run the test now, it will fail since we haven't updated our implementation yet for the new rule. We expect chicken rather than dog here. Back to code. But it's not difficult to implement, right? As it reads, if 3 animals are passed in, we do something else, we do something. It can be implemented by a statement like this. Length equals 3. We return the second item. If length equals 4, return the third item. Otherwise, let's say it returns now, and the index 1 and 2 zero based. Now let's run the unit test again. This time it should pass. And yeah, 3 of 3. We reached the goal, the code is running. Now let's raise the question. Are we coding for change? One way to tell is to pick up the change that happened and expand it. In this case, let's assume another business logic comes in. If we have 5 animals passed in and we want to return the first animal, will it then require us to change the current implementation? The answer is yes. So this piece of code is not code for change. So what can we do? We need to identify what is exactly changing and abstract that out of the current implementation. Here's a different perspective to see this thing. There are 2 parts in this fetcher. One is the process of fetching. So it getting an input string, it do some logic, and then it output the string. The other is the rule of fetch. The process of fetching never changed since the beginning. The rules keep increasing. Based on that perspective, let's try create an interface for rules. A rule knows which animal to get. Actually, let's call it apply. Apply a rule. The rule also knows if the passed-in string is in the format that it can process or not. Now let's create a concrete rule to satisfy the first business logic. Let's call it 3-animal fetch rule. It implements the interface that we just created for animal fetch rules. It can apply only when it's equals 3. Here, the apply rule will be very simple. We just return the second item straightforward. There are some code that could be reused, obviously. I'll just let it go since it's irrelevant. Clean up a bit. I'm going to do the same for the second business rule. And I'm going to fast forward the video so you don't get bored. The only difference is for this one is it takes in 4 animals rather than 3, and it returns the second as the business logic states. Whew. Now let's see how can we apply these rules into the fetcher. On the constructor, the fetcher is going to get a list of fetch rules. Why is this red squiggle? The interface is less accessible than the class. In the body of getAnimal, instead of running condition checks, we need to apply all the rules that is passed in the constructor. Now let's see it in action. Let's set up the rules for the fetcher. Cool, all 3 tests passed. Now let's come back to the core question. Are we code for change? To answer the question, let's try add another business rule. Let's say in addition to the first 2 rules, if the first animal is a dog, we're going to return the last animal instead. Well, obviously we need to write code for the new rule, but the goal is to try not to touch existing code and make it work. Let's start by updating the unit tests. Dog, cat, cow, and expected to return cow since dog is the first one. That's right. The test failed because according to the current rules, when 3 animals is in, the second one will be returned rather than the last one. Now let's add a new rule. Notice that I'm creating a new class rather than changing any existing implementations. While I'm writing the implementation, my context is very simple and clear, and that is only the dog rule. And I don't need to worry about other rules. For the can apply method here, I only need to check if dog is the first animal. And we can make this a little bit simpler. It is the same for the apply method, that we only need to worry about returning the last item. This is a good sign that we will abstract things in a reasonable way. Okay, let's come back to the unit test and add the rule. Run it again. Yes, all passed. Just a quick recap. We started with some simple code that only had one business rule. As we added another rule, we used a if statement to address the issue. It was straightforward, but we quickly recognized it wasn't code for change. Once we recognized the issue, we abstracted the changing part out of the fetch process and created the different fetch rules for different scenarios. We did update the fetcher to use the rules instead of like straight if statements. And afterwards, we don't need to change the fetcher anymore. At the end, we created a new rule. We call it the dog fetch rule. And we verified that we can change the business logics without touching any existing code. So next time, when you lay down the if statement, give it a second think. There is a chance for you to write your code that adapts to changes. Thanks for watching. Hope you enjoyed the video. Comment below to let me know what you think. And don't forget to like and subscribe for more content. Until then, take care.